No, I was not breaking 80. I did kind of hit it a little bit better though. I finally felt like one or two things I was doing made sense. So just have to get back out there and try again.
Yeah. I wanted to try to play on Sunday and then I just decided to clean the garage instead.
Not a bad call. That needs to get done more than it actually gets done sometimes.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings me to a decent point that I want to talk about today is all the stuff that you ignore in business and just in your calendar and in your routine and this, that, and the other. I'm sure you can think of one or two things right now that's just like been on your list for maybe even a year at this point. You just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, reshopping clients. The
So
ones,
explain.
especially the ones who are like, it went up 8%. I'm like, you're not even a priority right now.
Well, not even not. That's kind of more sales stuff, but like
Yeah.
uh, obviously sales stuff is really kind of what I'm talking about, but like all the things behind the scenes that have to get done just so that I can sit down and make sales calls. That's what I've been working on.
Yeah, you probably more than me, but there are some things that I want to implement into my business that aren't necessarily necessary, but they would be extremely helpful. So in terms
Well,
of
just
marketing, yeah.
what about a calendar? What about, how many times have you heard the word time blocking and do we actually do it? Well, we try and then we get kicked off of it and then it's really hard to get back on. And so, like, I'm going through on my screens here and just combining all of the random notes I've made for myself over the last few months and putting them in one place so I can decide if any of them are even important. Because I'm like, some of them are like vitally important and I'm missing out on them. So, just getting organized and having a system A through Z has taken forever and I'm still not even close to being done. Next few days, I'm literally just going to turn everything off and turn on music and go and just get all my stuff talking to each other, everything listed out, like, you know, because then going forward, I'm really making an effort to have like 20 or 30 minutes a day at a specific time every day where I'm just unavailable because I'm looking at a system or like maybe one system per day saying, is this doing what it's supposed to be doing? Are we missing out on some of the functions that it provides us that could be really, really helpful? Like, just giving it 20 minutes to making sure that all the information is in there correct and it's working correctly. That takes time. And if you forget about it, then it all piles up on you and you're like, holy crap, this is a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I get a lot of that stuff done from 5 to 7 every day. That's my time. I don't answer the phone after 5 unless I'm expecting you to call.
Yeah.
So,
Well, for me, I'm trying to do it in the mornings because we make sales calls. We try to get in touch with people.
hmm
I have found that the mornings are the times that no one answers,
yeah,
or they're going to tell you they can't talk because they're on the way to something, or something like that. So you might not get everything done like you'd like. So trying to wake up a little earlier, trying to make sure I get my whatever it's going to be my morning routine done, and then some of these little computery kind of stuff done in that time frame.
yeah.
So just picking, hey, what's my day look like? So I went to, one of our lenders that we work with and partner with, the number one lender in the country. Therefore, that means they are number one lender in the world because no one
hmm
else really does mortgages. And they have almost just under 10,000 employees. They have like, I can't remember what they told me. They didn't tell me at this time, but last time it's like 1 million square feet of real estate on their campus. It's in the Detroit area. They are just massive and they spend millions and millions of dollars on many different buckets to make sure their IT department, their marketing department, and of course sales, everything is all working perfectly and as good as possible. They're rolling out AI and all these kinds of different things in ways that are absolutely incredible. And just I went there for 2 days. They basically dressed me down and told me like oh, you thought you were doing good. Well, let's tell you what we're doing. So you feel bad about how little you're actually doing. But then it's like, but you're actually doing a lot because you're our partner. And all of these millions of dollars we're spending, we're giving it to you for free because you're our partner.
Yeah.
So, just stuff like that and making sure we're staying on message and on target. It's really easy to get off of that. So staying on brand, it's like, hey, why am I a broker? Well, because I have a billionaire spending money like crazy for me
Yeah.
to help me, one person, Clubhouse Lending. Like they're helping us and every other brokerage out there as well. But like, if you think about it, that guy spent millions of dollars implementing an AI loan officer assistant that can basically make sales calls for me.
Really?
Voice, like they call out and you don't even know it's a robot. And they call your whole database in 20 seconds.
Do they connect you?
And they schedule appointments.
Yeah. I mean, that's already out there, just not from an AI perspective.
How insane is that? Like I've been thinking about recruiting and doing all this stuff, but maybe I need to dial that back and just focus on the basics and then let the AI kind of understand the basics and then I just recruited for free.
Mhm.
So it's just really crazy all the stuff I've been learning the last couple weeks and really even a couple months with a few different various trips I've taken and just implementing all of that into the system after talking to the big guys in the industry. You're just like, whoa, I'm doing this on a 5 cent budget, but all right, let's try it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think just making your actual task, which is finding a mortgage, selling it, closing it, just I think making that as efficient as possible is probably one of the better first steps.
Well, but
Finding ways to make it efficient and simple.
simplifying the whole process. So just pick your stuff. There's so many things out there. You could pick 100 mortgage people to go do your loan right now, but really you just shop a few, get a good idea for what you like, and then pick the one you like, and then you got to move forward and you sprint.
Hmm.
Like I have to pick all these systems, so just pick one, and that's it. Is there another one out there that can do one or two things differently, maybe a little bit better, but they don't do this thing over here? We'll just pick. You're not going to ever really truly check off every single box of perfection. So get as close as you can, implement it, get your process down, and go. Like if the process is set in place, and you just say, "Look, if this is the process we've chosen," then you can sit down, and your day is really easy, and all that stress is gone. You're not thinking about bringing in new stuff to replace it. You're like, this works great. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. It's
Yeah.
been a stressful process, but I've like simplified it down to these, choose one or two here. Which one? All right, great, that one. And then, where I get my data, for example, well, I choose this one now. The one I've been using is not keeping up. And so we'll reassess in 1 to 2 years. But from 1 to 2 years, let's just get back to talking to our people and being outside sales instead of having to be all these other departments as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's the goal. And when you're in sales, I mean, we've had this conversation. It's the wording is different from our industry to industry, but ultimately it's how do I stop being the one who actually quotes or underwrites? I'm just the one who goes out, pulls the business in, and then runs the puppet show behind the scenes. That's it.
Yeah. Well, now, especially with the way we work as brokers, the puppet show is being run by billionaires. They do all that because we do our part, and then it goes to whatever you do a insurance deal, it goes to Travelers. Well, Travelers is a major corporation that's going to handle a lot of small details. So don't forget that there are partners. We can just use their resources. And then also, hey, potential realtor or referral partner for me, mortgage broker, do you want to use my millions of dollars worth of resources as well? And sometimes you forget to just say that out loud.
Yeah, I mean, we get kicked in the face all the time because a client will call Travelers and Travelers will be like, I don't know who you are, call your guy, call your agent. I'm like, well, Thanks,
Well,
travelers.
okay, so our big partner UWM, they're in the broker world, it's UWM or Rocket. There's the big ultimatum in place and all this, but we're at UWM. So you go over there. It's kind of a good thing though that Traveler says call your guy, because if
Mhm.
it was Rocket, they'd be like, great. This is what they say, or a very big retailer or whatever would just take the lead and close the lead and then kind of kick you out. So these guys are set up to try to help us. Rocket says they do the same thing now, but in the old days it was different. So
Mhm.
that's a whole nother conversation. But both of those places or your other partners, that's why it's so beautiful to be brokers, because they want us to succeed by offering clients very low overhead situations where we can pass along savings. And you call the 1-800 number, well, that's the overhead territory. So, yeah, it's going to be messy. You won't get the same person every time or whatever, but it's nice that they kick it back to us, is my point.
Yeah, no, it is for sure.
Because they could just take the business from us and swallow us up, and that's it.
Well, they let them cancel, which is a big pet peeve. But if they need to change anything on their policy, they're like, call your agent. I'm like, well,
So they'll take a random call and just cancel it right over the phone.
yeah. But if they have any questions about the actual policy, they're like, call your agent. We can't help you. It's like, well, why are you canceling your own paycheck then so willingly?
Yeah, that's well,
It's a
who knows
small
on
pet peeve
that.
in small pet peeve in our industry. That's really just home and auto on the commercial, and it's much harder. Most people don't
Well,
even know,
yeah, and maybe the client canceled because they misunderstood something and they didn't get it explained to them.
or they're just trying to be sleazy and not want to deal with me trying to convince them to not to leave.
Well, that's fine too.
Part of That's part of it. They're like, "Well, I got a better rate here," and I'm like, "Well, I have that company, so I don't know why you didn't call me."
Okay, but that's the other thing that I'm learning is like, do people know that we really truly have all these options? I've had realtors reach out to me recently with like a specific product saying, "Do you offer this?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I've offered this the whole time, but I'm not doing a good enough job. Maybe the extreme ownership Jocko is booked. Well, that's my fault that you didn't know that I do X, Y, and Z. So I have to get out there. That's part of the systems is like making sure people see my name next to that product.
It's a fine line though, because if it's a product that you really don't know too much about or do once a year, like why would you scream from the mountaintops that you do it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm literally getting texts right now about the same things. Like, ugh. And yeah, not all of them are great products, because other companies, these retail type of places that might try to steal a deal from you as a broker, they are pitching these products and they don't care about passing savings along. They only care about hitting their metrics so they don't lose their call center job. And so it's a tricky deal for sure, because not all these products are good. Like, I'm using the word gimmick a lot lately, and I have been on our show here forever. But man, the gimmicks are getting really interesting now because people are, gosh, they're close to lying about how it really is.
Yeah. I mean, biggest thing in competition is finding the hole. So
Yeah. Well, no.
where is your competition not able to do something or is not good at it?
Yep. Find a need,
I'm in the
solve it.
middle of that right now over the past weekend and Thursday, Friday of last week of finally getting an opportunity to write some investment stuff. And it's simply because who they use can't do it in DFW the proper way. And so now I'm like, well, I guess let's dig this hole a little bit deeper. Let's hunker in or hunker down or whatever, and just see how much business we can pull out of this resource.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what I want to do, but I found a hole. Let's live in it for a little bit and see how well we can do.
Yeah. I mean, that's an old saying is you want to make money? Well, find a problem and solve it.
Yep, exactly.
And brokers, we have the opportunity to do that because you can identify problems and you can find other places to go. There's other ways to do things. For me, the one of the cool pitches that I never really use is like, hey, I'm going to shop a bunch of lenders. So just like a retail, it's like, well, yeah, we've offered you and like six other people to the client, and we got to give them some options. Well, technically speaking, every time you suggest me or refer me as a broker, you're referring 20 to
Mhm.
50 options. Like we're looking around and we've got everything out there, unless it's some place with their own money doing something on the inside. They call that a portfolio deal, but we shop and shop and shop, and so we can find certain people that have options. But the problem these days is, what is the root cause of the problem that we're trying to solve? Is it that there is no product, or is it because that person has a bad history of credit and has no money?
Right.
That's ultimately what it comes down to: is, are you qualified for the money you're trying to get, or the insurance policy you're trying to get, or are you just asking for a unicorn, which is happens a lot.
Yeah, I get a lot too. Quote gets sent over and I'm like, can we actually be $3,000 cheaper? Like, no.
Well, it's just like this. I always keep these things, these stack of letters I get in the mail.
Yeah.
Everything that I think is predatory, I keep, and one day I'll do something about it. It's on the list. But just like $50 a month insurance. No, we just had somebody just got hit with a soccer ball sized hail in Emmerman yesterday. You're not getting $50 a month in insurance. But then the people will be like, well, technically speaking, that is a real offer, but that's where trying to cut that out in my business is like, I don't want to do well, technically I didn't mislead you. However, I don't know. I don't like that sentence.
Yeah, that's why I think this is specifically our ties in our industry is you on your loan estimates you estimate taxes and insurance. You're estimating based on the average of the past, not. And I try to tell people that I'm like, look, he estimated. We discussed what that estimation should be on average, but that number is a placeholder. So if we can get it lower, great. But if not, like this is reality type situation. I try to explain it to where the lender, unless they're putting a ridiculous number, like they predict $68 a month. I'm like, well, you did the math, and there was only
But
$68 left, and
I,
that's what you
I,
put.
I say this whole thing though, you shouldn't try to match what I estimate. You should just tell them what the prices are. Just like a realtor shouldn't estimate what a rate is, and then I go and try to figure out how to match a rate to the client. Like, that is not.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I don't try to match estimates. It's just typically if I say the number and they're like, "Oh," you can hear it in their voice. I'm like, "Well, what did the mortgage? What was the estimate on the mortgage breakdown?" And they'll be like, "It was 195," and I go, "Okay, so just so you know, they just that's a guess. That's a total guess. That's like me saying, hey, I think it's going to rain September 8th of 2027. It's a guess. If it rains, great. I look like a genius. If it pours, if it floods, I look even smarter, but we're just guessing on that end.
yeah,
When it gets
and
to me, it's reality.
when people are shopping loans and you see that loan estimate and they look at the monthly payment, that is a way that some licensed loan officers,
Mhm.
whether broker or retail, it doesn't really matter. Everybody's on the same thing. You're a licensed originator. They use insurance and taxes, especially on new builds and different things, to manipulate that monthly payment to try to get you to choose them up front. And then later, when it changes, they said, "Well, that's on you. Why didn't you get a different policy?"
Yeah, they put it on
And
everybody
so,
else. I've been in those
so
situations.
you got to be very careful with that stuff, because when you're looking at a loan estimate, when you're shopping, like when you're just trying to qualify, because debt to income ratio, you could die on the loan could die because I quoted $150 a month on insurance, when in reality it's $300 a month, and now you don't qualify for that loan anymore, and you got to get creative to try to get 150 bucks a month back to get into range, because you were at 49% debt to income at 150. So like that's the other reason I don't like what's my max pre-approval number. The other lender said I could get 390. uh I don't know. I mean, what are the taxes and insurance on the house? Have you gotten quotes? Like, there's no number that you can give. It truly is a sliding scale.
Yeah.
It stinks because I'd love to say 401 is your exact number,
Right.
but it just does not work that way.
Yeah. I mean, it would make all of our jobs a lot easier if you could give.
Well, but it would make everything a lot easier for the
Mhm.
consumer to understand as well. But it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I'm just thinking back to, I mean, just even 2, 3 years ago when I was at my previous employer, you would get, it was when rates were low, right? And if people were buying, and you would get somebody who got called by Rocket Mortgage and they're like, "Hey, I got pre-approved. I'm buying this house." And they said the insurance is going to be $60 a month. And I was like, that doesn't, insurance is cheap right now, but it's not free. Like best we can do is 135. And they're like, "Well, can you get it lower?" And it's like, "No, we can't." And then you start digging a little bit deeper and you're like, "Well, I don't even know who my lender is. It was just somebody who called me. They sent me a pre-approval letter." And then I went to a realtor and we're under contract, and that's as far as we've gotten. And I'm like, "What? Excuse me?"
That is, I don't want to say it's over 50%, but it very well could be over 50% of the people out there buying houses do that same thing because they don't understand. They think that just because someone gives you a pre-approval letter, then you're good. No, it's really different. You could go to 10 different companies and they'll have 10 different processes of how they want to do a pre-qualification or then pre-approval. And what do those two words mean? Are those two words different as well? Yes. But like, unless you've submitted documents, everyone gets their credit pulled on the phone all
Yeah.
the time. I mean, if you call a call center, they're pulling your credit. So you have to have your credit pulled, which may or may not be the right thing. If you're looking in 6 months, you don't want your credit pulled now. You're gonna have to pull it again in 6 months. Uh, but you got to submit documents. Got to try to start lining things up for the underwriters. And if you don't do that in the right time frame, and then you get a funky quote from someone that's not a professional, you use the land taxes on a new build home instead of the actual taxes going forward based on your purchase price. At some point, whether it's now at closing or now being pre-closing, closing, or 1 to 1.5 years down the road when you get a new tax bill, you're going to have a major shock.
Yeah. I've
So,
had a
like,
few happen where they're like, "My insurance and my taxes went up 300%." And I'm like, "What were your taxes before?" They're like, $300. I'm like, "Oh, somebody lied to you then."
yeah, I mean, that's $1 million house. You're not $300 a year in taxes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's land value, you know. So there, all these kinds of things are really important. So if you just get a pre-approval letter and no one really asked you any questions that you thought were funny or like too detailed, then it's probably not a legit pre-approval yet. You could be
Yeah.
close, you could be on your way, but you don't want to find out trouble, something that popped up on your profile or your application in underwriting once your earnest money is on the line. You want to find out as much as that as possible before you have a single penny that could be taken away.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, speaking of like affordability and things like that, I have a wild idea I want to get your take on. And it could be, you can just flat out say it's stupid.
Ready.
You go through the whole process, right? I call you, we submit documents, we go over all the financials, we get pre-qualified, let's say for 450,000. It's a monthly payment we can afford, blah blah blah. Interest rate, just for the sake of conversation, is a flat 7%. That's where we've determined everything. If we buy a house at 350, there should be some sort of reward in your percentage interest rate for not buying at the max level you're able to purchase.
Hmm.
Because you're already showing them, "Hey, I can repay at 450 at 7%, but now I'm going $100,000 less. I'm more secure. I should get X basis points off my percentage rate."
No, that's stupid.
Okay.
Because, um, yeah, the whole idea is that at 400, you are a risk. At 350, you're more secure. So there's your cherry on top.
I'm just spitballing.
Hey, everybody wants free stuff, including you, I guess.
It's not free. I mean, technically.
Well, discounts are out there, but you got to pay attention to that too. Just like President's Day mattress sale, are you being discounted on the 125% market value that they've been charging all year? Now you're just down to 110% of the market value.
Yeah.
You're not really truly getting it at 50 and 60%. So every lender is different. A broker versus a retail or a bank or something like that, it's different. Their margins are different. The way that a lot of people, especially I had a builder whose preferred lender is Loan Depot, like that is not going to be preferred terms. They're gonna have higher costs. They're gonna have a higher rate because they build those costs into the rate. So if they say they're giving you discounts with the builder because of the incentives, well, you're getting discounts from an already elevated position. Try to back down. Now you're back down under as well. But like, I've seen that as a case.
And there's probably
Again, Loan
a
Depot can get
hidden,
good pricing. I don't want to say bad about any lender out there, but that is a potential to happen.
well, there's probably it's a bad word in our industry, but there's probably some sort of kickback somewhere in there that's not
Well, the
super
kickback
evident.
the kickback that is technically legal that happens all the time are those MSA, right? Marketing service agreements. So a company pays a builder or a retail or a realtor company, maybe a lender pays them $5,000 a month to be in the office and access the clientele basically. So if I'm paying a
Yeah.
builder $5,000 a month to be there, then they'll give some incentives or whatever, and they do it that way, or pay the realtor office to do that. And so that's like the way that people have been getting around kickbacks, in my opinion, is
Yeah.
literally paying to play.
It
So
happens.
kickbacks are a weird word. It's a bad word because technically speaking, a referral is a kickback. And realtors get referral fees if they send a deal out of state or somewhere they're not licensed or somewhere they can't do a good job. So like I just don't like that word kickback. I think it pigeonholes especially lenders and title into a really bad area. It's like, oh, you're giving kickbacks. Like, no, I'm just doing marketing. Like when you go to the sandwich shop and they give you a gift card for or sign up a friend or something for their whatever, like that's a kickback too, I guess. But
We post dated the invoice to pay for the marketing that you provided.
yeah,
That's a good
I
way to
mean,
kind of word it.
that's good business.
Yeah.
If you get terms, right? Like if you go to print shops or whatever, that's the last place I've heard this is like, you want 30, 60-day terms. That means you don't want to pay your bills for a month or two, and we'll give you all your stuff. You can get going. Maybe the stuff that we just gave you will bring in money that you could then pay the bill. That's just how people do business forever. So definitions are old and outdated.
Yeah, for
But a
sure.
lot of things are old and outdated. This is my opportunity to talk about the credit trigger bill. There's a rule from the 70s that is telling credit bureaus how they can handle our personal data online that didn't even exist back then. So a lot of things need to be updated to get more clarity. And then really, truly, it's all for the consumer to avoid confusion. I shouldn't really be able to quote insurance. A realtor definitely should never quote rates, and then that avoids confusion to the consumer. But then they see it on those documents, and here comes the confusion again.
Yeah, I always tell people if it's on paper, the borrower, the client, the homeowner thinks that this is
It's
like
fact.
it's fact, it's law. God himself wrote it down and we can't change it.
Unfortunately, you can be in process, and the way that the disclosures work, it's not true. I mean, you don't get your final number until the end, but the way we do it, you're never going to get surprised. If so, you're going to be surprised in a good way, but it helps
Right.
with budgeting some, but it's pretty messy how it all works on the back end, no doubt. And speaking of realtors quoting stuff, I was sent a link, no names, but I looked at this realtor's website, and they're a realtor, uh, and the whole website is advertising to basically collect a mortgage application. Like they're talking about all the lending terms on there. They're effectively collecting a mortgage application as an unlicensed loan originator. They're a realtor. So they're either licensed as a lender as well and they're not telling you, which is a violation, or they're trying to like steer you. So you talk about kickbacks. get the application and then sell the lead. I don't know what they're doing, but that is wildly scary to me to see realtors having all forward facing stuff be about loans.
Yeah, you can go ahead and share that name with me when we're done recording.
I mean, the website was wild.
Was it at least a good website?
It says apply now for a mortgage.
Did you want to click the button though?
I did click the button. It didn't go anywhere. I did, but I was having bad service, so I'll try again today.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say again, just anybody who listens, our 8 viewers out there, just be really careful. Make sure you understand what you're clicking and like who is who, and who's quoting you what.
Hmm.
There's a lot. I will quote rates sometimes insurance. I'll tell you what I think a range might be, but I'm not the final answer, and I sort of have to because if you ask me for a loan estimate, it's going to be on there. So I'm going to try to do my best to make sure. But again, that's the process telling me I've got to do it, whereas the process just needs to change.
Yeah. Well, and there's a difference from you flat out offering insurance quotes and taking the average of the types of homes you've lended on and the areas you've lended on in the past 30 days and discussions you've had with me or any other insurance agent of what is the kind of average for these types of homes. You can give that perspective. There's nothing wrong with that. But now if you were like, hey, here's a quote.
Yeah, but what do you say all the time though? Like, yeah, I can tell you about averages, but I don't know how many claims they have. I don't know what their
Exactly.
credit, whatever. The back end information about that individual person matters as well in the
Mhm.
number.
Yeah. We all get kind of forced into answering questions we really shouldn't.
And it's
Just,
unfair, and I shouldn't talk so much crap. Realtors are just trying to do the right thing and they're trying to advise. But it is important to know when your level of ability to advise stops and you need to pass the baton. And I know I'm getting better at that too. Like, I don't want to talk to you about insurance. Here's a number, call the number, and they'll tell you. But like to be offering loan information is interesting without a license. Because
yeah.
loans and title are the ones that were most affected by all the regulations after
Hmm.
'08. After '08, they tried to kill the mortgage broker. They blamed the whole recession on mortgage brokers. And so all the rules were written against them so that retail would win. And then here we are later. Things are trying to catch up. The technology and everything is different. Some updates need to be had because, well, the conversation could be that one side is steering in a different way than the other side, and they used to flip. And so there's a lot of information out there, but realtors, they do their best. They know they're jack of all trades. I even sometimes have to ask about realtor type of questions, to make sure I understand budgets. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of crossover, but that's where you have a team and you understand who talks about what and when to turn it over. You're going to have way more success than just being somebody out there who's not very loyal to a partner. Like, we're not vendors. We want to be your partners so that you
Hmm.
can have an easier process. We want to help you with your process. And I'm trying to improve my process every day, every hour. So it is there's a lot to learn and a lot to adapt out there. However, not enough is changing to keep adapting, so it's like everything's just a seesaw.
Yeah. Speaking of process, let's go ahead and cut it here. I think that's a good ending. I had to push something through. They're trying to close in the next 2 hours. Um, and so I got to get on the phone and try to get something through. But good conversation, a lot about process. It's kind of nice to see that you're kind of figuring out how to be a business owner. So,
I don't know about that. I've been
well,
told what to figure out.
well, you're finding the tools to help you try to figure it out eventually, maybe one day down the road.
Yeah. And then one day I'll stop rambling online about nothing that's just confusing people even more.
And then our views will spike. That'll be funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll wrap it there. We'll get this. Was this for next week or this week? This week?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well then.